The alerts started hitting my phone less than 48 hours ago. Procurement managers, industrial buyers, supply chain directors from electronics, automotive, and solar manufacturers across the US, Europe, and East Asia. Different companies, different countries, same message. China is not shipping silver anymore. Not check back next month. Flat refusals. Emails citing new export licensing rules. Customs documents marked rejected. Contracts terminated overnight. Deposits refunded with apologies. As of midnight Beijing time, January 1, 2026, the Chinese silver export system didn't tighten, it snapped shut. This isn't speculation. This isn't forecasting. This is live reporting from buyers who woke up to discover that supply chains they depended on for decades no longer exist. For months, we warned that China was preparing to lock up its refining sector. Back in late 2024, Beijing quietly announced a new export licensing framework. On paper, it looked technical, boring, bureaucratic. In reality, it was a kill switch. To qualify for a silver export license, refiners now must meet two requirements: a minimum annual output of 80 metric tons and minimum credit facilities exceeding $30 million. Those thresholds instantly disqualified hundreds of small and mid-sized refiners and trading houses that handled Western contracts. At the time, skeptics said enforcement would be flexible, that relationships would matter, that contracts would be grandfathered. That hope died on January 1st. The enforcement is absolute. Licenses are being denied. Shipments are being blocked. Silver that once flowed freely into global markets is now trapped inside China. One U.S. electronics manufacturer in California has sourced refined silver from the same Shenzhen trading house for 8 years. Their normal quarterly order is 180,000 ounces. Business as usual, they submitted their Q1 purchase order in late December. On January 2nd, they received a short email stating that due to new export licensing requirements, effective January 1st, their supplier could no longer fulfill the order. The company did not qualify for export authorization. The deposit would be refunded. They contacted 3 alternative Chinese suppliers. All 3 responded the same way. Now they're calling us dealers and COMEX warehouses, only to be quoted delivery times of 18 to 24 weeks, with premiums exceeding $30 per ounce, if metal is available at all. A European solar manufacturer operating out of Germany received a similar shock. They relied on high-purity silver paste from a refinery in Guangdong under a long-term contract totaling 2.4 million ounces per year. On December 30th, they were notified that the refinery's license application had been denied. The reason was simple: annual capacity below the new minimum. The contract was terminated immediately. They have 6 months of inventory. After that, production lines stop. Refiners in Australia, Canada, and Mexico told them the same thing. Production is already committed under multi-year agreements signed years ago. Global spot availability outside China is estimated at only 15 to 20 million ounces per year. One company needs 2.4 million ounces. Now multiply that across Europe. A Japanese battery manufacturer supplying Toyota and Honda did manage to work with a licensed Chinese refiner, but the approval came with a condition. Every shipment now requires government authorization. Priority is given to domestic Chinese manufacturers. Foreign exports are evaluated case by case. Their February request for 450,000 ounces was denied without explanation. License does not mean allowed. This pattern is repeating everywhere. Some refiners are disqualified outright, others are licensed but functionally blocked. The result is identical. Western buyers cannot get silver out of China. This is not a short-term disruption. It is a structural break. China controls roughly 60 to 70% of global silver refining capacity, not mining, refining, or is mined worldwide, but has flowed to China for decades because that's where the infrastructure and scale exist. That system just ended. By weaponizing export licenses, China has effectively nationalized its refining output. Silver that once entered global trade now stays domestic, feeding Chinese EV makers, solar manufacturers, electronics firms, and strategic reserves. Conservatively, about 400 million ounces per year used to flow from Chinese refiners to foreign buyers. As of January 1st, that flow is gone. COMEX currently holds roughly 38 million ounces of registered silver available for delivery. China just removed more than 10 times that amount from annual global availability. Global mine production is around 820 million ounces per year, but most of that is already locked into long-term contracts. Truly flexible supply may be only 150 million ounces. Western buyers lost access to 400 million ounces and are now competing for a fraction of that. The math does not work. This explains why Samsung recently requested 50 million ounces from COMEX and was offered barely 10% of that amount. COMEX knew what was coming. They knew Chinese supply would disappear. They knew industrial buyers would flood the exchange. They knew the vault could not handle it. Now every major manufacturer is in the same position. Normal supply channels are blocked. Backup channels lack capacity. Everyone is racing toward the same shrinking pool of metal. Some argue that new refineries will be built. That response ignores reality. Building a silver refinery takes 5 to 7 years. permits, environmental approvals, construction, workforce training, mine contracts. Even if started today, production wouldn't come online until the early 2030s. Meanwhile, existing non-Chinese refiners are already operating at near maximum capacity. Spot availability outside China is less than 20 million ounces annually. Samsung, Tesla, First Solar, and Nvidia alone consume over 150 million ounces per year. Across industries, Western demand exceeds 400 million ounces. They are now chasing 20 million. That imbalance feeds directly into COMEX. Delivery pressure is accelerating. What once looked like a late February collision is now approaching in late January, and the timing was not accidental. China waited until inventories were thin, dealer stocks depleted, and vaults already bleeding metal. Then it acted. This is leverage. The message is clear. If you want guaranteed access to silver, manufacture inside China, build the plant there, operate under Chinese rules. This is not resource nationalism. Retail markets are already feeling the impact. Dealers relied heavily on Chinese refined products. January shipments were cancelled. Premiums are exploding. Availability is vanishing. When the buy button disappears, psychology shifts. Scarcity validates higher prices. This affects everything. When production slows, growth stalls. Central banks can print money. Even if China reversed course tomorrow, the damage is permanent. The supply chains are re-architecting. Western firms will spend years diversifying away. The bifurcation is real. China has silver. China controls allocation. Chinese manufacturers get priority. Everyone else competes for what remains. This was not a headline, it was an execution. January 1st marked the moment silver went from tight to inaccessible. The denials are real. Hundreds of millions of ounces are gone from global trade. This is no longer theory.